Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. If I may, let's call this meeting to order. March 24th meeting of the Sacramento Metropolitan Fire District Board of Directors.
Mike.
May we start?
You might want to use your.
Is it? I had the, am I on? Hello, hello?
Hello.
Push
Testing.
the button. Hang on.
The IT folks in the back. Spring break.
Spoken,
Testing, testing.
I know. You're working. Am I working now?
You're working now.
All right, good. It's good to hear I'm working. I'd like to ask Director Barnes to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, if you would.
Quick update. He's got a couple other things he's done.
Pledge of allegiance
Thank you, Director. All right, Metro Cable announcement. This open session meeting is videotaped for cablecast on Metro Cable 14, replay on Saturday, March 27th, 2016 at 2 p.m. and Monday, March 28th, 2016 at 6 p.m. on Channel 14. It's webcast at www.sacmetrocable.tv. The open session meetings are also available for viewing on the district website at www.metrofire.ca.gov. Public opportunity to discuss matters of interest. Madam Clerk?
There are no speakers this evening.
There are no speakers. All right, are there any questions or comments on the consent agenda?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion we adopt.
I'll second.
Thank you, thank you. Let's call for the question, please.
Dr. Mitchell?
Aye.
Gould?
Aye.
Wood?
Aye.
Barnes?
Aye.
Clark? Kelly?
Aye.
Jones? And Scheidegger.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Under action items, I want to announce that action item number 1 and closed session item number 4 have been removed. No action will be taken tonight. With that, let's move directly to the President's report. I have nothing to report. Fire Chief's report. Good evening, Chief.
Well, good evening, directors. Mark Wells, Fire Chief. Got a handful of items to go over tonight. First, we had a town hall meeting on the 16th. Good opportunity in this very boardroom. We have active communication back and forth with our internal and line staff. Every division is represented, so we had some good dialogue that day. So those will be continuing into the next balance of the year as well. Another one will be coming up as we approach summer to be determined. In this very room, the Cal Chiefs EMS Section Chiefs meeting occurred, which is a great opportunity. The Northern California Fire Chiefs involved in the emergency medical services. A lot of different issues going on with 201 and different issues relative to those types of issues. So Metro Fire, again, with Chief Johnson as our rep on that. I forget where, he's not in the room right now, Chief Johnson. But anyway, he's our representative on that particular committee and hosted that event. Very well attended, and we appreciate everyone that came. We had we're calling it the Metro Fire Rancho Cordova Agency Coordination Meeting. It's we're going to change the term from 2x2s. I think it more appropriately reflects the coordination between two entities, kind of a spontaneous conversation about issues that are germane to both agencies. Had good discussion yesterday with staff, and Director Wood and Director Jones were also in attendance, and good dialogue there. Save the date. It'll actually be on tax day, April 15th is the retirement dinner. It'll be at 5:30 p.m. at the Croatian Center. It's actually the Croatian American Cultural Events Center up there on Auburn Boulevard. Same place we've had it in the last number of years. Great venue and a great opportunity to celebrate a lot of the retirees. While I'm on that, I'd like to just acknowledge all the resolutions tonight that were in the consent agenda. Tremendous amount of experience as we talk about, and I'd make sure that we can honor all them at the retirement dinner on the 15th. We had success in obtaining one of our personnel, our EMS day captain's position. It's a 2-year commitment, and we're fortunate to get Captain Paramedic John Paul Savani. He'll be coming into the office, working in the EMS division starting on the 28th of March. And I'm also going to tonight be reporting out before the ops report. I have a handful of issues from the PIO report. First, I'd like to notice in the room tonight, we have that shaved their heads for the St. Baldrick's fundraising. And we talked about it last time. We have Deputy Chief Holbrook and Assistant Chief Savage in the audience tonight. Also, Accounting Specialist Matt Davies and Accounting Specialist Marie Bernal, and also her 5-year-old grandson Jace all participated. I'd like to note that Marie and her grandson raised over $1,800, just the two of them alone. And Marie's hair was donated to the Locks of Love, because it was actually very nice and stylish as opposed to some of these guys who don't look that much different. I'd also like to acknowledge Engine 109 and Medic 32 were part of the filming of a major motion picture directed by Tim Russ from the movie Star Trek. The movie is called Junkie and is based on a local true story. Some additional details will be passed along as they come available. So that was on the 16th of March, they were involved in that. So more to come on that. On the 21st of March, Engine 105C played a role in the California Highway Patrol video that will be played during the Commissioner Farrow speech at the National Lifesavers Conference at Long Beach on April 3rd through the 5th. And this conference is the largest gathering of highway safety professionals in the country. And so we had the opportunity to be part of that. And Metro Fire was invited to attend, recruit, and speak at the California National Guard Women's History Month observance at the California Military Department. Guest speakers were Susan Hagen and Mary Caraba, who are the authors of Women at Ground Zero, Stories of Courage and Compassion. And 4 Metro Fire female firefighters attended, and the National Guard was very appreciative of our efforts. And we also had the opportunity to do some messaging on recruiting as well, at the same venue. And so, last and certainly not least, I would like to ask arson investigator Steve Johnson. Steve here? Yep, there you are. He was hiding. Could you just step up to the podium here for a second? What I'd like to call to attention, and Investigator Johnson will elaborate. We had on the 18th of March, we had a fire and vandalism which caused about $100,000 worth of damage to the Foothill Ranch Middle School. The investigation was a joint effort between our newly formed Arson Bomb Task Force and the Twin Rivers Unified School District. And just a couple hours later, those responsible were arrested and charged. But I'd like to acknowledge Investigator Johnson, and if you could elaborate how quickly, within hours, literally, these two were detained and charged. So if you could just elaborate on that.
Certainly. Directors, Chief Wells, ladies and gentlemen of the audience. Again, Steve Johnson, investigator for the department. We ended up having a substantial loss at Foothill Junior High, or Foothill Ranch Junior High. The fire came in at approximately 3 a.m. Twin Rivers Police Department had contacted us around 10 a.m. saying that they had video surveillance of the 2 individuals responsible for not only setting a fire in the bathroom or locker room, but also spraying gang graffiti on the school as well as Foothill High School. Photographs were taken of that video and shown to some staff members at the school. One of the staff members identified our first subject, who was a 16-year-old minor, as a prior student. We went and made contact with him at his home. His mom had told us that he wasn't home, so we kind of checked the neighborhood, found him in front of a laundromat, talked to him a little bit. He gave us a statement, admitted to spray painting the building and being there when they set the fire. Also gave up his buddy that was with him. We went and contacted his buddy, and he also admitted he was there but did not admit to the fire, and they both were arrested. This all happened, we were contacted at 10 a.m. and we were able to have them both in custody by 2:30 p.m. We couldn't have done it ourselves without the help of Twin Rivers School Police and them being quick on getting the photo of the surveillance, as well as contacting the staff members that knew who the kids were that used to go to the school.
Great. You know, I'd like to just acknowledge too, we talk about a system, and we talked about it last week about, in our grants and we had the residential care fire that basically was mitigated, and all the different systems that go into place being Metro Fire, and the arson investigation group is very, very hardworking group, and they've also worked in this collaborative task force, combining with the Sacramento Sheriff's Department and their collaboration with other regional law enforcement, Twin Rivers in this particular case. And so we just wanted to acknowledge that this was a fast one in relative time to sometimes these play themselves out, but great work and it was over a weekend as well, right?
Right.
And so fast work, got some dangerous individuals off the streets, and so that's what it's about. So further lives saved potentially that we might not know about, but great work, and you're here. I wanted to acknowledge that, and it's better for you to tell the story because you were there. So thank you very much.
Very good.
Okay, and so outside of that, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Chief Wells, and thank you, Investigator Johnson, for your report, but more importantly, for your fine work. All right, Chief Shannon.
Good evening, President Scheidegger, Board, Chief Wells, Brian Shannon, Operations Chief, B-Shift. Here to present, give you the operations numbers since we last met on the 9th. Total calls were 3,699. With that, we had 10 structure fires. We had 3,172 EMS dispatches with 2,352 transports for a 74.1 transport ratio. Also, our partners, EMS partners AMR, they also had 43 dispatches with 26 transports for 60% ratio in that time. And that's the numbers. If you have any questions, let me know.
Questions? Thank you, Chief. Good report. Council Lavra.
No report.
Thank you. Anyone here from 522? Thank you. All right, committee and delegate reports. The executive committee has not met. Communications Center, JPA. Chief Consentini, how are you?
Doing fine, Director. Good evening, President Scheidegger and Board. Greg Cassantini, Assistant Chief Fire Marshal. Eric Bridge is on vacation reporting out. The Communications Center, JPA, has not met since the last board meeting. We have the next meeting scheduled for Tuesday, March 29th at 9 a.m. here in the boardroom. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Questions? All right, thank you very much. California Fire and Rescue Training, JPA, Director Kelly.
Yes, the JPA met today, actually. It was a special called meeting, and the business that was discussed was a employment termination for the executive director. He did the agency a huge favor by, well, his work. He had gotten quite a bit done in the short term that he was there, and understanding that he was a drain on the organization in terms of financially, he said, look, I'll step out of the picture and you guys can have some savings on my salary over the next few years. Things are going better than they were. Everybody around the place knows what's going on, and we've got a great guy, Joe Gear, to step into his place. And so we bid adieu to Chief Ruben Grijalva. He did a great job for us at the JPA and put us in a good position to move forward. So, again, my public appreciation for the job that he did.
Thanks for that report. Any questions? All right, let's move to the Finance Committee. Director Wood.
The Finance and Audit Committee has not met since we last were together, Mr. Chair. Our next meeting will be April 28th, 2016 at 5 o'clock in this chamber.
Thank you. Policy Committee, Director Gould.
The Policy Committee will be having a soiree on Thursday, April 14th, 2016.
We'll look forward to that.
You bet.
Thank you. Board member questions and comments. Let's start with Director Mitchell.
Thank you. I was glad to see this past week the highway patrolman that unfortunately had lost his life in the procession down Highway 80, that I'm not sure who the fire service was, but on many overpasses, the news reported, and we could see on TV that the fire department's participation, and I was glad to see that. I think a lot of times a fire and police were, shall I say, hooked at the hip many times, and to show that respect for that officer and his family, I was pleased to see that. Secondly, the number of retirees that we saw this evening and okayed on our consent agenda, that is a huge amount of knowledge base, as the chief so said, that leaves our district, and that great commitment of the many years of service of the individuals, but not just those individuals, it's their families that made sacrifices a lot of times through those years also. So we wish them well in their retirement, and thank you for the opportunity to make those comments.
Thank you, Director. Director Gould?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just want to, again, thank all of those retirees and congratulate them for their years of service. And we look forward to hearing many reports as they go about their days out in the community. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Director Clark?
Yes, sir. I would also like to thank the retirees for their years of service, and I wish them well in their retirement. As I always say, I wish them good health during their retirement, because without that, there's nothing else.
Thank you, Director. Director Kelly?
And I echo the sentiments for the individuals that have retired, and tell you that it took a great deal of restraint not to sign Chief Wagner's, in my namespace, I wanted to write Jack Wagon.
Thanks, Director. Director Jones?
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Was able to participate with that collaborative meeting with the City of Rancho Cordova, with Director Woods, Chief, and many other representatives of Metro Fire. It's a very, very good informational exchange, sharing of information, and overall good rapport between, fostering between our two agencies. It's been very, very successful in the past, and I look forward to a lot of that in the future as well. Other things that always do go along with some of these things, I did participate in the Cordova Planning Advisory Council for this area, for the American River Parkway Coalition, which the Parkway, two-thirds of it falls under our jurisdiction. And I appreciate the chief and staff sending representatives from community services to participate in a lot of these meetings. It's really great to have Metro's presence at these local community meetings. Also included is the Community Association for the Butterfield Riviera East neighborhood. And again, thank you for all the Metro representation that occurs at these meetings and events. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Director. Director Barnes?
Thank you, Mr. President. I just, again, echo the 32 retirees, wish them well in public safety if we can retire healthy, and hopefully we always pray that they're retired as many years as they worked. A lot of historical knowledge going out the door, but a lot of youth coming in the door, so that's exciting times. Personally want to thank Metro Fire for showing up at Officer Nathan Taylor's funeral, representing other fire agencies, public service. It just goes to show the respect we have for each other on the job, not only in emergencies, but in sorrow also. So I appreciate everybody that was there along the freeways as well. It's very it's heartwarming, so I appreciate it.
Thank you, Director. Director Wood?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The loss of Officer Taylor made me think about, he was doing the same thing that our men and women do every day out there, assist people on the roadway. And I just want to remind everyone to be safe, be careful, and get home every night. Thank you.
Thank you. I just wanted to add my congratulations to those 32 people. What a loss, but all the best to them. And I wanted to mention that I'd like to close tonight's meeting when we do adjourn with a moment of silence for Officer Taylor and firefighter Schnuck, as well as the terrible tragedy that occurred in Belgium. So if that's all right with everyone, we'll do that when we close tonight. And I think with that, we're going to recess the closed agenda at this point. The rest of you have a nice evening, and thank you for coming.
I know, that was awesome, Jack.
Thank you, President Scheidegger. The board met in closed session under agenda item number 1, conference with labor negotiator, to meet with its designated negotiators for the bargaining groups identified. No action was taken. The board met with respect to item number 2 on the fire chief selection process. No action was taken. The board met on item number 3, the workers' compensation claim concerning Russell Grieve, and by an 8-0 vote, authorized its attorney and third-party administrator to effectuate a settlement of that workers' compensation claim. Item number 4 was removed from consideration, and thus no action was taken. With respect to item number 5, the board met in closed session to discuss the pending litigation of Lane versus Sacramento Metropolitan Fire District et al., currently pending in the Sacramento County Superior Court. No action was taken. And the board met in closed section to consider the Government Code Section 910 claim for money damages filed on behalf of Deborah Burton, and by an 8-0 vote, decided to reject that claim. Thank you.
Thank you, counsel. I'd like to then move for adjournment. Just a couple of things. One, our next meeting will be April 14th, 6 o'clock here. But before we do, I'd like to ask us to stand for a moment of silence in memory of firefighter Kristen Schnook, CHP officer Nathan Taylor, and the victims in Belgium. Please. Thank you very much.